so God can move me, clearing out a space so God can speak for me, clearing out a space so God can love for me. I make room, I make room for God, for God. Oh, I make room. Na na na. Da 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 da. I'm clearing out a space so God can move through me. I'm clearing out a space so God can speak for me. Clearing out a space so God can love through me. Oh, I make room for God, for God. I make room for God so God can speak through me. I make room, I make room for God so God can move through me. I make room for God, make room for God so God can move through me. And it's in my surrender that I found power. Yes, it's in my surrender that I am made stronger. I make room, I make room for God so God can move. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. I make room for you. I make room for you. Room for you.
Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Good morning.
Sunday. Good
and
morning.
welcome to the live stream. Let your brother, sister, mama, cousin know that we are live. Send them a link. They can join us either via YouTube or Facebook. We are streaming on both platforms this morning. This morning, I'm going to open us up with prayer as we move into this beautiful experience of our Thrive Masterclass. So I invite you, wherever you are in this moment, to take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale out from your mouth. And again, let's take a deep breath in through our nose and out through your mouth. And for a third time, because it feels so good, we breathe in through our nose and out through your mouth. And together, let's affirm, I am here now.
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 There is one mind, one power, one presence, It is working in all, through all, and as all. There is one mind, one power, one presence. It is working in me, through me, and as me. There is one mind, one power, one presence. It is working in you, through you, and as you. This power, this mind, this presence, this good is good. It is universal good. This mind, this power, this presence. It is the love behind all love. It is the ease behind all ease. It is the joy behind all joy. It is the peace behind all peace. And it is right here, right now, for it neither comes and it neither goes. This space, this place, this connection is filled and overflowing with the good that God is. I recognize that Mother, Father, God is our source, and we are intimately and intricately connected to it. We can never, ever, ever, ever be separate from our source. And as I recognize this is true, I remember my oneness with it. I remember that I am one with it and one of it. As I recognize this truth, I remember and unify my heart and my mind and my soul with the reality that you are one with it and one of it, one with love, one with peace, one with ease, one with good, one with prosperity. And it's from this awareness that I now speak this word in faith, knowing that our time together is a time of illumination, knowing that our time together is a time of elevation, knowing that our time together is a time of inspiration. And each and every one of us will leave this gathering different than when we came to this gathering. Each of us will leave this gathering inspired. Each of us will leave this gathering enlightened. Each of us will leave this gathering enlivened. And so it is with much joy, it is with much thanksgiving that I release this prayer, knowing that all is well, all is good, all is perfect, all is whole and complete. I rest in that vision. I rest in the complete knowing of that thought. And with joy and thanksgiving, we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Well, hello, everyone. Again, good to be here. Please send out you can share the link, share it on your Facebook page, start a watch party if you like, or go to YouTube, watch us on YouTube, share that link. We will be streaming every week on Facebook and YouTube. In this way, as we are beginning this beautiful new masterclass, I want to just take a moment to just send our love and prayers and condolences to our friends and family. We know that many of us have already experienced the transition of a loved one as it relates to this virus. Many people in our community have experienced the transition of a loved one, and so please know that our love and our prayers are with you. We are praying for all of you every day, and we are most definitely praying for folks that are moving through the grief experience and moving through that process and moving through this time of bereavement. So we have a few announcements, a few things that we want to tap in and talk about before we get into what today's class is all about. So let's just take a look at that. So the first thing, every week on Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our weekly prayer call. This week's prayer call will be led by our prayer champion, Reverend Akila. I will share the daily word reading. This is something that you want to be a part of. You want to anchor yourself in prayer. It's important that we're anchoring ourselves in prayer. So all the details, all the information is right here in the slide. You can also get that information on our website. If you go to the calendar, you will see that the information is there. There's also a playback number. That means you can listen to that prayer anytime throughout the week. So later today, if you want to hear this past Wednesday's prayer, you can use that call number. You don't need a special code or anything to dial in. It will ask you for that number, but actually just wait. Hang on the line, and the most recent prayer will begin to play. Right. So that's an important thing. The next thing is, for those of you who are part of the CSC family, you know that every third Sunday is God Talk Sunday. And what we do, God Talk Sunday is an opportunity. The God Talk happens after service, and it's an opportunity to ask questions. It's an opportunity to dig in deeper to understand how do you apply spiritual principle to what's actually going on in your life. And as we recognize that we are all moving through this experience of COVID-19 and the global pandemic, there's a lot happening. We have a lot of feelings. We are moving through a lot of changes, and some days feel better than others. Some moments feel better than others. And as I said earlier, many are experiencing the the grief and loss. And so we are going to be leading a conversation around that to really support you in understanding what grief is about, understanding what the stages of grief are, and how we can move through those stages. You want to say a little more about that, PY?
Absolutely. When we talk about loss, which is the actual thing that's happening, we want to understand, so we have a common definition of loss and grief and what's happening. And then we want to look at it through a spiritual lens as well. So this month's God Talk will be specifically about loss and grief and how to navigate those things as we all collectively move through this experience of COVID-19. And everyone's experience of loss and grief will be different, but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the way that you're experiencing your loss, whether it's the loss of a job or whether the loss of someone you love, or just this experience, the loss of freedom, how it feels right now in our body and in our experience. We don't want to bypass that.
Right.
We want to acknowledge that and support each other in moving through it, right? And so many of us don't even realize how the impact of what this is having on us. None of us have ever experienced this before. Right. It's unprecedented. And so we want to take God Talk Sunday this month to focus specifically in on loss and grief. And as we move forward through this experience, each God Talk Sunday every month will be different. It will be very focused on a topic. But you can bring any question that you're having. But this month, we're focusing specifically on loss and grief and how to navigate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's our goal and desire that we're going to use that form of the God Talk each month on the third Sunday as we are experiencing a pause, as we are under stay-at-home orders. We're going to use that time to continually look at what the experience is of this global pandemic, looking at it from a spiritual lens and learning how to apply what we've learned, what we hold to be true. How do we use it now in this moment of crisis? How do we move it in this moment of blank just got real, right? How do we do that? And so this is, we are clear that we want to use all of the things that are already in place to continue to support each and every one of you in we say it in our mission, right? Equip humanity to live our greatest lives, right? And living your greatest life is not about money and things and stuff and manifesting things. It's about peace of mind, right? And it's about knowing that you have the tools to move through any situation, because we will all experience unwanted situations. And right now we're all in a collective unwanted moment, right?
And just to clarify, we will still have our regular Masterclass at 11. We'll take a little break. We'll come back at 1. It's just like you were at CSC for service. We'll start up again at 1, and we'll focus in at the God Talk on a particular topic or area.
Right. And as you'll see on the screen, what we will do for the God Talk, we will hold that as a closed Zoom meeting. So in order to get that link and in order to get the password, you will have to be on our mailing list. If you're not already on our mailing list, you can just go to our website and go click the option to connect and enter your information so that you have that. But that will be a closed situation, a closed meeting. Many of you know some of the things that are going on with Zoom, so we want to make sure that that's private and protected. That session will not be recorded either, as we normally do when we meet in person. Those are not recorded. What happens in the God Talk stays in the God Talk. All right? All right. So in this moment, we're going to get ready. PY is going to lead us in an awesome meditation. So I'm going to turn it over to her and get out of the way.
Well, we bring ourselves to this present moment. And I know that there are many things that seem to have our focus and our attention. And so we get the opportunity to practice this presence, to practice this knowing in meditation. And as I like to say every Sunday, you can have all of the intellectual information that you want. You can have all of the knowledge and have read all of the books. But if you don't know and feel and experience God as the allness that is within you, then you just have information. And so when we come to times like this, in times of challenge, we haven't connected to anything. We can regurgitate information, but until we feel the presence, the allness that God is, it's just information. And so we get to practice now in meditation. We get to practice being in this experience of the allness and realizing and recognizing that God is not only moving in and around us, God is experienced and moving through us, but more importantly, God as us. And so, let's close our eyes. And closing our eyes, we lower the shade on the external world. And in lowering that shade, as the eyelids close, we bring ourselves to this grounded place, the ground of all being. With our eyes closed, we begin to notice ourselves from the inside. With our eyes closed, we begin to allow the body to relax and something else that is deeper within us to take over. And so from this place of closed eyes and open heart, bring yourself right here and right now. Finding your comfortable seat and allowing yourself fully to occupy that space. Just notice the breath. Notice its flow in and out. And make no judgment of the breath, just notice where it is right here and right now. For when we release judgment, we open to the present moment, and our heart and our mind become unified. And with each breath, we relax a little more. And maybe there are sounds outside of you that we begin to incorporate within you. Whether it's the sound of my voice or sounds in your room, welcome those sounds, that vibration, that love in right now. And right where we breathe is the individualized expression of the all. And right where our heart beats is the all. And from this connection of breath and individualized expression of all, let's bring our focus to the feet. Sending breath to the feet, relax the feet. Let the toes make the physical connection and let the spirit make the vibrational connection to the ground of all being. And as the energy gathers from the core of the earth and beyond, imagine in your mind giving permission for that energy to move. In your mind's eye, feel that energy and see that energy crossing the ankles. And as we relax the ankles, we signal more energy to flow. Energy now moves up our calves and our shins. Relax the calves and the shins. It's as if we have surrendered the feet and the calves and the shins, and they melt into the ground of all being, the all. Now the energy moves across the knees. Relax the knees. Energy flows across the thighs, towards the hips, relaxing the hip sockets and making room for more of the all to be experienced. Energy now flows from the base of the spine, crossing each of the chakra, activating each, balancing each, opening each, traveling up the spine, and now out the crown of the head. This open portal, this open channel, allows more energy to flow in, through, and around us. Imagine the energy gathered above you, now flowing down, down, down. Down the shoulders, relax the shoulders. Down the arms and out the fingertips, and you may turn the palms up to receive, to express yourself as an open channel, or turn the palms down to ground and receive stability. Whatever position you choose, see in your mind's eye light filling this vessel. And where light goes, energy goes, and breath flows. So let's breathe here together. Inhaling up the right side and exhaling down the left side. Inhaling up the left side and balancing, exhaling down the right. Inhaling up the right. Exhaling down the left. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. And right where you sit is the allness. Let it express and breathe on your own, inhaling up and exhaling down. A few rounds on your own. Last round here, inhaling up and down. And now bringing that energy that is so present in your body, front and center, inhaling in through the low belly, expanding the front of the body, holding it there, opening the mouth and releasing anything that would prevent us from feeling the all. Inhale up through the rib cage now, expanding the ribs, the sides and the front and the back. Hold it there. Open the mouth and let everything go here. And making our way to the heart, the healing space. Inhale all the way up through the heart. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release. Releasing every moment prior to this moment. Every thought, unlike the all, unlike love. This time, inhaling all the way up through the heart. Hold it there. This time, close the lips, exhale slowly through the nose. Each breath reminds us that God is. Each breath reminds us that God is as us. And from this heart-centered space, Imagine the light filling you now. With each inhale, drawing more of that light into you. And with the exhale, releasing it, making room for more God. All of God is here now. As you, as me. And as we move into our silent time, just feel with every breath that God is very present, not absent. Each breath is the reminder. Each breath is confirmation of the allness of God. As we breathe and take this time to go within, let every voice, but that voice, that presence that reminds you of the all, as you, let those voices that are unlike love be still now. With our eyes still closed, we sit in the all that is God. We breathe the all that is God. We remember the all that is God, that is very present right here and right now as each of us. And slowly, with our eyes closed, begin to reorient yourselves with the body. Maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes. Maybe it's a more deliberate breath in and out. But we never lose sight that wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Now bringing our palms together at heart center, and nice and easy, relaxing the chin towards the fingertips. Slowly fluttering our eyes open. Taking in a point on the floor in front of us, we remember that there is no place where God is not, and that we could not be more worthy or more loved by this universe. Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, PY, for taking us all the way in on this beautiful Sunday morning, this beautiful Palm Sunday morning. I was just checking. We have over 150 people are connected right now between YouTube and Facebook. So hello again and good morning. To any of you who have just joined us and maybe popped in the midst of the meditation. So we are doing something very different for our time while we are staying at home. We thought it was important to one, not try to recreate what we do on Sundays, but to do something that works for this format, and also to do something that speaks to where we are now. And so I had the thought last year that I wanted to teach a class, a 12-week class based on spiritual economics. My intention was to do that this summer. But I realized where we are right now in time, where we are right now in consciousness, that this was the perfect time. And so in making this the perfect time, what I also wanted to do is make sure that this is widely available to everyone. So this 12-week class that PY and I are teaching, the only other class we teach together is the 4T Prosperity Program. So this is a treat, I hope, for many of you.
It's fun for us.
But this 12-week class, generally a class like this would be $497 for 12 weeks or $397. And we wanted to make sure that this was free and widely available. So we will be teaching this every week for the 12-week duration. And additionally, this will be available. The recordings will be available. This live stream will be available as long as we are staying at home in this particular capacity. So for those of you who have done classes with me before, specifically because I tend to teach a lot of online classes, some of this in terms of the format will be familiar to you. Other things will be a little different. One of the things that we're doing that's different is that, well, first, the book, right? So we want to make sure that you get the book, Spiritual Economics, The Principles and Process of True Prosperity by Eric Butterworth. One of the things I would note, because I shared this a few weeks ago and I know a few people grabbed it, you got the audio from Audible, which is wonderful, and the audio is beautiful. It's beneficial, but there are chunks missing. Mm-hmm. There are lots of chunks missing. And for me in particular, as I was reviewing and going back, there were things that I know we will highlight throughout the coming weeks that are not in the audio. So if you're just listening to the audio, there's some beautiful things that you're missing. So you want to have both. It's beneficial even in terms of just tapping into how we learn and how we receive information, being able to see it and also being able to hear it is wonderful. And if you're like me, I love different brain hacks. I tend to listen to my audio at like 2 times the speed to kind of take it in faster. So, that's wonderful and that's beneficial, but then you need to be able to go back to the text. You want to highlight, you want to add notes, you want to do things like that. So get the book. That's the first thing. Now, the next piece, as we move throughout the weeks, you will have questions. You may read something that just doesn't sit well with you, or you may read something and you're wondering, well, how do I really apply this? Or how is this practical? Or what does this really mean? And so we want you to email your questions for class to truthsunday@celebrationsc.org. What we will do is throughout the weeks, as we have what we want to highlight from each chapter, we will also take the time to take some pertinent questions and speak from that, so that you can get that next layer of depth and information and teaching as you need. What we would also love to be able to do is for some of you, your questions, they may just be so wonderful, or they may just require a dialogue. And so we'll invite you to actually come in and come in live with us so that we can have a dialogue and have a conversation. And so, of course, that you would also need to consent to being on camera. So we don't want to have everyone on camera. We know everyone's not comfortable with that.
Or dressed.
Yeah, real talk, right? You might want to be in your PJs on Sunday morning, right? So all good. So keep that email address. We'll be monitoring that as well, even live during the class. I'll check that email address, and I can see what's going on and see if someone has sent us a message. I know someone emailed us this morning, but it was about how to check in and how to connect in. We will continue to send that out. We will be streaming this. It's really just the easiest and most direct way at this point that we will broadcast out, and you can access this via YouTube or Facebook. And again, start a watch party on Facebook, right? Bring your friends and family in because it's a really cool thing to do. So what we're going to be looking at today is the preface and the introduction. Mm-hmm. And I initially did not think that we would spend much time on this. I thought we would kind of touch on the preface and introduction and dig into chapter 1 today. But there's so much gold in the preface and the introduction. And so I think it's important that we highlight this and really look at it. And I pray that as we move through this is really going to support you in thinking about how you should be using this text and how you should be looking at this text and how much is there for you to really glean. And so I encourage you to go chapter by chapter with us. Don't skip ahead, right? If you have the feeling that you want to read more, go back to the beginning of that chapter, because I guarantee there's something that you thought you read, but you really hadn't read. There's something that you thought you understood, but you're going to get a depth of understanding. And so again, in the preface and the introduction, we have some things that are very foundational, that are really going to support us. And so I want us to take a look at that. One of the things I love about what Eric Butterworth does in spiritual economics is he gives us these key words and definitions, and he also gives a lot of affirmations. And so we'll be sharing those and pulling those out. One thought, one note, one idea, something that you could do is to create postcards, right? Create flashcards with those words and the definitions, and like write and rewrite them so that you get them in your mind.
Or Post-it notes.
Right, or Post-it notes, right? Electronic or physical, whatever that looks like for you. Again, we want to give you some tools in how to really take advantage of this study. If you don't have a special notebook already, I say get a brand new notebook just for this, right? Don't clutter it up or with anything else. If you can, right? We know we have shipping delays right now, but make this deliberate, make this specific, right? That's really, really, really the goal, right? So there's something that Eric Butterworth writes in the introduction that's key. And it kind of puts us into why I think this book speaks to where we are right now. And we read, "It has been commonly assumed that in times of economic reverses, we are all victims of a strange malaise about which there is little that can be done other than to wait and see. However, the study of the laws of spiritual economics reveal that there is much we can do, personally for ourselves and in concert for our country and our world." Right? We are experiencing a time of economic reverse right now, and many just feel that they are victims of the circumstance and feel that there's little that can be done. But we got news for you. You are not powerless, and you are never powerless. The study of the laws of spiritual economics reveal there is much we can do, personally for ourselves and in concert for our country and our world.
And I love the way he refers to it as an economic reversal as opposed to a downturn. Right? It's important that we understand the language that we use in referencing these ideas or what's happening in our country right now. If we go along with the trend, everyone knows that economics is based on the thought pattern of the people that are involved with that economic system. So we have to elevate our thinking and our speaking about the economy in such a way that it doesn't just support our individual movement, our individual prosperity, but that of the rest of the country, our friends, everyone else. So this is an individual study, but it's a collective study that will support the country and the world.
Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. And we read later, "We have been erroneously conditioned to believe that our lives are completely shaped by what happens around us and to us. But life is lived from within out. It is not what happens out there, but what we think about what happens." Right? This sounds very familiar, I'm sure, right? The meaning, A Course in Miracles, "I have given everything all the meaning that it has for me." It's not about the event as much as it's about the meaning that we place on the event that creates the emotional distress or discord and then sends us way down into scary land, right? He goes on, "You are not responsible for what is said in the Wall Street Journal or what comes out of Washington in the form of economic indicators, but you are very much responsible for what you think about these things. We are not responsible for what the day-to-day press conferences are with Donald Trump and whether Dr. Fauci speaks or not, right? Whether the Surgeon General speaks or not. We're not responsible for any of that. We're not responsible for what will be in the next stimulus package or not. We're not responsible for any of those things. but we are very much responsible for what we think about these things, because what we think about these things determines what's happening within us, and then it then impacts our ability to generate and attract and access new and creative ideas.
So we're not reacting to what's happening, right? We are responding from a place of the all, from a place of knowing that God is and that I am God in human form. Yes. I'm expressing this, that this individualized, this eachness that we all are, is an expression of the all. And the all has all economic conditions mapped out.
So I want to go directly to the text. Those particular highlights that I just grabbed, I wanted to pull those in because I think they're just incredibly important to frame why this text is important, right? That we're getting this out of the preface and the introduction. He's speaking directly to where we are, right? Directly to where we are. But then as we move forward and look at what else is being shared for us, Butterworth gives us this new word, a word called wealthful, right? And he uses it in this context. I'm reading directly from the text, so if you have your book, you can go get it. It's right in the beginning of the preface. Healthful is a common word which connotes conducive to health. That is good food, plenty of rest, and an environment of high vibrations. There is no word, however, that relates to the things that make for a personal experience of wealth, and there should be. So I have taken the liberty of coining the word wealthful. It is a wonderful word. I recommend that you use it often. I recommend it to you. Use it often. There is a great need to establish ourselves in those things that are conducive to prosperity. We need to turn the focus of our attention away from lack, layoffs, and limitations into the omnipresence of universal substance. Going down to the highlight here, just as there are experiences that are healthful to us, so there are experiences that are wealthful. Expose yourself constantly to wealthful ideas. Think prosperity, think substance, think affluence. Your life will be influenced for good or ill by the kinds of thoughts that rule your mind and manifest in your world. Spiritual economics is about such thoughts. So if you have your pen, you have your paper, wealthful is the first word, right? This is a word that we will add to our vocabulary. And what is to say something is wealthful? It is those things that are conducive to prosperity. Just as something that is healthful are those things that are conducive to health, right? So it's important that we start to develop a wealthful mindset, that our thinking becomes wealthful, right? That our speaking becomes wealthful, and that then what happens is then our emotions become wealthful, and our interactions become wealthful, and the meaning that we place on things become wealthful.
So that's your first word.
That's your first word.
If you want to put it on a sticky, I'm having this thought in my mind. Anybody that loves the color purple, when she was teaching her sister, she put everything up on a little piece of paper. She would go through the house and she would call them out. That's what you're going to begin to do for yourself, whether there's someone there with you or not. You're going to be your own teacher.
Absolutely.
As we guide you through this process. Wealthful is your first word.
It's your first word. And so as we move forward, again, that was just in the preface.
I know, this is awesome.
Have mercy. As we move forward, there's so many different things. Some of the things that I just shared, we just shared there, but I want us to move forward and look at the next word. The next word is affluence. And I'm here in the middle of the paragraph. The word affluence is an overworked word in our time, usually implying cars and houses and baubles of all kinds. Its literal meaning is an abundant flow, and not things at all. When we are consciously centered in the universal flow, we experience inner direction and the unfoldment of creative activity. Things come to, but prosperity is not just having things. It is the consciousness that attracts things. There's your word for the second word, affluence. And what does affluence mean? An abundant flow. And that is our job, right? That is our opportunity to constantly learn how to live in an abundant flow, right? And an abundant flow does not matter what the economic indicators are to live in an abundant flow. Abundant flow is not about things, right? But what's beautiful I love what he says here, when we are consciously centered in the universal flow, we experience inner direction and the unfoldment of creative activity. Things come too, yeah, but prosperity is not just having things. It is the consciousness that attracts things. Mm-hmm. Now, there's something very beautiful here, and I love this because I think it really frames this teaching, because this is not a teaching about money. This is not a teaching about how to get stuff. This is not a teaching about how to get rich quick or start a new business in the middle of an economic downturn or write a book that's going to make you a bunch of money. That's not what this is about. And if you were confused in any way, Eric Butterworth makes it very clear in this next passage. It's just abundantly clear. So let's hear what's here. Let me make it clear at the outset that I am in complete disagreement with the growing emphasis in the metaphysical movement on money and things as objects of the study and practice of truth. I am in complete disagreement, and PY and I are echoing these words, with the growing emphasis in the metaphysical movement on money and things as the objects of the study and practice of truth. I agree with John Ruskin, who said, "What right have you to take the word wealth, which originally meant well-being, and degrade and narrow it by confining it to certain sorts of material objects measured by money?"
I love that. The idea of well-being and wealth were synonymous, right?
That's your next word.
That's your next word. Because we've all been conditioned to believe that wealth is material things as opposed to well-being, which is constant, right? Things come and go, but well-being is constant.
Absolutely.
And so if we begin to redefine wealth as this constant sense and knowingness of well-being, then we're never in lack.
Never.
We're never in lack.
Mm-mm.
We become affluent in every way.
Absolutely.
We are fluent in the amount of breath that flows through our bodies. We are fluent in the fact that our heart beats.
Yes.
We're just affluent.
Yes.
And then we can walk in a certain light,
mm-hmm.
and hold situations that happen
mm-hmm.
in a certain light.
Absolutely.
And then also be kind to ourselves, because many of us have been conditioned to believe that we're doing it incorrectly if the things haven't shown up.
Yep. If
the peace is there, God is there, all is well, well-being is there, and wealth is there.
Yes. So I'm going to make sure you have that. Wealth is your next word. And what is the definition of wealth? Well-being.
That takes all the pressure off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to amass a certain number.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm trying to do is remember and stay in alignment with well-being, and the rest comes to me.
Yes. I believe we shared that sermon this week. It's coming to you, which was from the Well-Being Abounds series. Right. So that's something, if you want to understand and tap into more what wealth is and what well-being is, you can go to YouTube and look for that sermon series, Well-Being Abounds. And one of PY's powerful message in that series, it's coming to you. Right. And living in that vibration. And so when we understand then what wealth is, then the next word we want to define is prosperity. And you all have probably heard me use this definition because it's one of my favorites. The word prosperity has been corrupted to imply gold dust falling from the sky. The word millionaire is overworked to appeal to the student's acquisitive instinct, and dollar signs often adorn the covers of prosperity books to suggest that the amassing of wealth is a kind of spiritual growth. I look upon all of this as gross materialization of a beautiful spiritual truth. The word prosperity comes from the Latin root, which literally translates according to hope, or to go forward hopefully. Thus, it is not so much a condition in life as it is an attitude toward life. Mm-hmm. The true prosperous person is what psychologist Rollo May calls the fully functioning person, mm-hmm. who is experiencing what Jesus called the life more abundant. I say, prosperity is a way of living and thinking, not just money or things. Poverty is a way of living and thinking, not just a lack of money or things. And when we did our very first prosperity series, it was in 2013 or 2014, A Prosperous Mind. That's the definition that we use to anchor ourselves. So you got two things here. Prosperity. It literally translates to according to hope, or to go forward hopefully. So when we're living in prosperity, we're living in possibility, right? Because if it's according to hope and we're going forward, hopefully, that means that we're not living as though our backs were against the wall. Mm-hmm. We're not living as though we only have one option or that we have no choices. When we are living according to hope and going forward, hopefully, we have more available to us, or we perceive, we believe, we know that there are more things available to us. And so that makes us a fully functioning person, right? It makes us someone who has a certain attitude towards life. So when I say I am prosperous, what I am talking about is the attitude that I have towards life. I am prosperous because I believe that there is possibility. I am prosperous because I expect the good. I am prosperous because, as we sing every Sunday when we close service, because I know who I am and I know whose I am. Magnificence I am. Magnificence I am. Brilliance I am. I am prosperous because I know that even when I don't see the solution, there are solutions. Mm-hmm. So that's what prosperity is. So it's important. Let's write down this definition. According to hope, or to go forward hopefully. And then also, prosperity is a way of living and thinking, not just money or things. Anyone who lives in that vibration is unfortunately limiting their prosperity. It's not just money or things. And similarly, and this is important because we do not believe in and would never shame anyone who is experiencing poverty. Poverty is a way of living and thinking, not just a lack of money or things. That's why there are many people that are poor or living in poverty, the consciousness of poverty, while they may have money or things.
Mm-hmm. They have a lack mentality. Mm-hmm. Right? They are afraid that even though they appear to have enough, within their thinking, they don't think that they have enough. Yep. And they keep trying to amass more and more and more. And it works in opposition to that. Mm-hmm. Right? It begins to make them believe, and from a fearful place, that I have to get more and more and more. Yep. We're talking about peace of mind that equates, in some instances, with money in the bank.
Right.
But peace of mind is more than money in the bank.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of the other things that it reminds me of is, I think this discussion came up once in a prosperity class, and I think it's beautiful to talk about now. Because as we're experiencing what's going on in the world, one of the things that's showing up is a critique of capitalism, right? Now, there are abundant critiques of capitalism, right? And I could join that party, right? One of my favorite texts that I studied in my growth and unfoldment in my consciousness politically and socially is Manning Marable's, right? Mm-hmm. How capitalism underdeveloped Black America, right? So I can go there with y'all. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, right? What's interesting to think about what's happening in this moment and how capitalism, we are seeing the influence of how all of our systems are being exposed as being unequal and unjust, right? What's happening is what we recognize is that we're seeing the poverty mindset, because what has fueled this unequitable capitalism, and I believe it is possible to have an equitable capitalistic system. What has fueled that is this very thing, that poverty, as Eric Butterworth says, is a way of living and thinking, not just a lack of money or things. Now, the United States of America has a lot of money and things, but there's an underlying sense of poverty that has led to greed, that has led to I'm going to create, a lobbying group to make sure that my people or my corporation or my industry is protected above and beyond anybody else. I'm going to do all of these things that are rooted in lack. It's rooted in greed. It's rooted in small thinking. It's rooted in limited thinking. It's rooted in this idea that there's not enough. What we're going to be talking about next week as we look at chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the truth about substance. In our series, I believe it was in January, in Working with the Law, we talked about the law of supply. This is akin to that law, understanding that there is an invisible substance that is infinite and eternal that can become anything. There's always enough. Right. But because we believe, and because corporations believe, and because governments believe, and because Congress folk believe that there's not enough, then what happens is it's like, well, I need to get my little piece in this bill to take care of my people in my state or in my little county, right? All of these things are happening. That's what's going on right now. We're uncovering and revealing the poverty mindset that is run rampant in the United States of America. So rather than critiquing capitalism, capitalism to me, can work one way or the other. It can work for people or against people. What we want to critique is this mindset, because this mindset is the thing that has caused so much of the discord that we're seeing. But also, this mindset can be healed.
Right. If you think about even the way this crisis is handled, you have states and localities competing for resources. When if we really understood that there's more than enough and we had a coordinated effort from the place of more than enough, we could make sure that people received what they needed, as opposed to this lack consciousness that the federal government is got its own, right? Kushner, this is our stuff, right? As much money as he has or supposedly has, he still has a lack mentality.
Yes. So we want to move forward in this text because there's some beautiful things here. So here in this first highlight, considered in the broadest sense, prosperity is spiritual well-being. This involves the whole experience of healing life, satisfying love, abiding peace and harmony, as well as a sufficiency of what Aristotle called the furniture of fortune. So hear that. When we're talking about prosperity, and this is why we call this series, this class, Thrive, Living in Complete Prosperity. What does that look like? The whole experience of healing life, satisfying love, abiding peace and harmony, as well as, to just put it regularly, stuff, money and stuff. Right? And so, does anybody want that? Shout out, comment, whatever, hearts, whatever you want to do, right? Do you want the experience of a healing and healed life? Satisfying love, yes, right? Abiding peace and harmony, as well as money and things. Yes.
Right. We're not trying to tell you not to want things. We're trying to help you put it in the proper perspective so that there's never a lack of things, because your consciousness is such that it is affluent.
Absolutely. One of the things that my life taught me, I was in a space where I had the things. I had, all the good job, money, blah, blah, blah. My apartment was filled. Y'all have heard me tell the stories. I had, 20 pairs of sneakers. I rarely wore the same pair of sneakers in a week. My closet was full, tags still on a lot of things, and I was unhappy. I was incredibly unhappy. Today, I have the things. I have good money. I got clothes that I love. I have a woman that I love. I have all of these things. I have a beautiful family. I have things, but more importantly, I have healing life. I have peace and harmony. I did not have peace back then. I did not have harmony back then. And what I know to be true is that that's worth more than gold. It's priceless.
Absolutely.
Right?
I talk about my closet that was a Coach closet. I had every Coach bag that was made at the time. And yet I was bankrupt. I was actually literally going through bankruptcy, and my emotional bank was empty. And I had to realize, wait, what's going on here? It's not even about, if I never have another Coach bag, which I do, love Coach. If I never have another one, what is going on here? What in me that has to be changed? What in my thinking has to be changed? Because why was I buying all these things? To fill up a perceived void within me. That in truth, when I'm in this flow, when I'm in the wealth of life, well-being is the thing that is operating in, through, and as me. And those things come as a result of that.
Yeah. So I just want to remind everyone again today, but more specifically as we move through the weeks and as you're reading chapter 1 this week, any questions that you have, any questions that come up, email truthsunday@celebrationsc.org. So that we will use those questions for discussion points. And we also may invite you to join us live so that we can have a dialogue and we can support you. Now, as we move forward, actually, I'm just going to read this whole section. Too often the tendency is for teacher and student to become so preoccupied with the demonstration of jobs and bank accounts as to forget that the person is a whole creature in a whole universe. While in this work, we are focusing on spiritual economics, we are forever conscious of a backdrop of spiritual ecology, the truth that sets us free from all problems of human experience. It is consciousness that sets all the limits in life, if there are any limits. And then it goes on. I shared this piece earlier. We have been erroneously conditioned to believe that our lives are completely shaped by what happens around us and to us, but life is lived from within out. It is not what happens out there, but what we do or think about what happens. And so I'm going here down to the red, because I shared this piece about you're not responsible for what's said in the Wall Street Journal or what comes out of Washington in the form of economic indicators, but we're responsible for what we think. We cannot afford to let so-called experts decide how we are going to think and feel. For how you think and feel about the economy in general and your financial affairs in particular will unvaryingly determine what you experience. So if you are serious about the program suggested by this book, you will want to make a commitment to get yourself and keep yourself in the positive stream of life. Can we affirm, I am committed to getting and keeping myself in the positive stream of life. I am committed to living in the positive stream of life. I am committed to thinking in the positive stream of life. I am committed to being in the positive stream of life. Refuse to indulge in casual conversations. Should the word be casual? About the bad economy, the high cost of living, or about anything you really do not want to say yes to. I'm just let that sit for a second. Refuse to indulge in casual conversation about the bad economy, the high cost of living, or about anything you really do not want to say yes to. Unconsciously, that's what we're doing. When we get into them conversations, we're saying yes to it. Why? Because we know that yes is the language of life itself. It only says and knows yes. So whatever we're talking about, whatever we're thinking about, it's saying yes to. Eliminate such thoughts as I can't, I'm afraid, and there's not enough from your consciousness. We talked about this last week, right? Last week's sermon was all about the power of I can, right? The law of success. We got to have that. Makes perfect sense. In order to be successful, we have to live in the I can, which means we must eliminate such thoughts as I can't, I'm afraid, and there's not enough from your consciousness. Now, can those thoughts come up? Sure. Mm-hmm. But as I love to say, when fear speaks first, make truth the last word. Many times what we do is we give fear the last word. We give I can't the last word. We give I'm afraid or there's not enough the last word, and we begin to agree with it, right? Or we find things that agree with it, and that's the only thing speaking. Make truth the last word. I can't. Make truth the last word. There is more than enough. Every need is supplied to live an abundant life. There is more than enough. Talk only about the things you want to see, live, and grow. Keep your thoughts centered in the ideas of abundance, sufficiency, and well-being. And occasionally give yourself a consciousness booster by affirming something like, God is my instant, constant, and abundant source of supply. Affirmation time.
Ding, 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 ding.
Again, Eric Butterworth gives us some powerful and wonderful and beautiful affirmations that we can use. So this is something you want to put on your postcard. You can type it in the comments and in the chat right now so that it's in the stream and we see it. And whoever comes back to watch this later will see it. God is my instant, constant, and abundant source of supply.
And so when you're thinking, as PG said, make truth the last word. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to make ourselves feel bad that we've engaged in conversations that were not in our consciousness that we want to perpetuate, right? The moment that we become aware is the moment of change. Mm-hmm. As I like to say, you're just one thought from a miracle. You're just one thought from a shift in consciousness. Mm-hmm. So if fear has spoken first, and usually is loud and shrinking, as the Course in Miracles says, we use these affirmations to make truth the last word.
Yep.
Not to beat ourselves up because we had been engaging in and unconsciously engaging in those kinds of behaviors. Those things are normal until you learn a new way. You keep living the old way, but you got to practice the new way.
Absolutely.
And so the first thing we do is bring our conscious awareness to it. We bring our love and compassion for ourselves that we've been engaged in those kinds of conversations. And then we allow truth to be the last word.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then that's when you use affirmations, and he's going to talk more about affirmations later, but that's how you make truth the last word. No matter where you are, what conversation you've engaged in, how you felt about the conversation you engaged in, we make truth and therefore love the last word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In a regular meditation practice, work on the realization that you are surrounded by a divine presence, which wishes for you only good because you are expressing its life. The biting truth is that God will make you prosperous and successful in all your ways if you do not make it too hard for God. Infinite Mind will put ideas into your mind, words into your mouth, creativity into your hands, boundless opportunity before you, and guiding light on your way. So this is beautiful. If you do not have a regular meditation practice, we will share the PDF from the class we've taught, and we've shared it before. Practice the practice. You can begin to develop your 5-5-5, 5 minutes of meditation or sitting in the silence, practicing the presence. 5 minutes of reading something affirmative and inspirational, right? And 5 minutes of affirmative journaling, right? So not writing about your problems, but writing from a place of, it could be gratitude, writing your gratitudes. It could be about writing, imagining the future. I am so happy and grateful now that, and writing about the things that you want. But there's something he says here that's beautiful, and this is going to be echoed in the next chapter and throughout the book. This idea that, God can only do for us what God can do through us. And that's based on our own consciousness, right? So God is never limited, but our thinking about what's possible for us, or our thinking about God itself, is what limits God, right? And so the biting truth is that God will make you prosperous and successful in all your ways if you do not make it too hard for God. Think about it this way. If you had to run a race, right, 100-yard sprint, if the path is completely clear, right, it's very easy to run from start to finish, right? You could do it easily. Anybody could, right? But imagine if there were, all of these giant mountains and obstacles in that same 100-yard path. All of a sudden, the same thing that you could do easily, traveling the same distance, all of a sudden it changes. Everything becomes different, right? And so that's what's essentially happening when our consciousness is in a place of lack, is in a place of fear, is in a place of not enough, is in a place of thinking that God is judgmental or doing something to us or doing something to certain people. All of these things create obstacles in what can be a clear path. And so that's what Butterworth is talking about here, is that we can be prosperous and successful in all of our ways if we do not make it too hard for God, right? In the same way, it's another analogy, but it's beautiful, right? If you have a pipe and water is flowing through it, we know that if the pipe is clear, water can flow through it. Let's think about it this way. This just came to my mind. Y'all like milkshakes? Now, you know the difference between what happens when that milkshake, when you first get it and it's super thick and you almost feel like you're going to squeeze your brain or something trying to suck the milkshake out of the straw, versus as it starts to melt and it gets thinner. And so it's easier for that same delicious milkshake to come through the same straw, right? That's what's going on, right? And so the difference is, it's our consciousness that either has the milkshake being super thick and it can barely get through the straw. Even, sometimes you suck on the straw so hard and the straw starts to flatten, like the straw starts to close, like, I can't do that for you, man, right? That's what's happening. And I guarantee you the next time you have a thick milkshake, this moment is going to come back to your mind. That's what's happening. And so that's how we're making it too hard for God, right? But if our consciousness is a consciousness of ease, if our consciousness is a consciousness of abundant flow, then we're just like that melted milkshake that flows through the straw so easily and effortlessly, right? Without any issue.
And the other piece of this, it's not that milkshake is not flowing. It's not that energy and abundance isn't flowing. So in our making it hard for God, we're not eliminating the flow. We're just slowing the flow down.
Exactly.
Right? So we're not saying, oh, now God is not pleased with us and, oh, all of a sudden now we won't get anything. It's just saying from our perspective and what we want to receive, we need to be an open channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so then from that place, and this is very important, where he writes, Infinite Mind will put ideas into your mind, words into your mouth, creativity into your hands, boundless opportunity before you, and guiding light on your way. This is what happens. And again, this is what prosperity is about. This is what living in complete prosperity is about. This is what affluence is about. This is what being wealthful and wealth is about, and well-being is about. That we have access to ideas, that words come to us, but we don't even really wait, where did that come from, right? Right? Creativity into your hands, boundless opportunity before you, and guiding light. Even when the world seems dark, it won't be dark to you. Mm-hmm. Even when other people are scratching around, look like feeling around for the walls, you can see the whole room. Mm-hmm. All that is required is that you keep yourself centered in the creative flow. Keep in tune through positive thoughts. Keep responsive by your faith. And as Thoreau would say, keep moving in the direction of your dreams. Right? I love that he referenced Thoreau. Many of you know how I love Thoreau, and I particularly love that passage from Walden. If one advances confidently in the direction of her or his dreams. Now, that statement by itself is powerful because he says if. Mm-hmm. Everybody's not making that choice. So if one advances how? Confidently in the direction of her or his dreams, then you will live a life unimagined in common hours, right? License the higher order of beings, right? Then you will live that. So, but it's important that we live in that place and advancing confidently. I always have the image from Mary Manning Morrissey, how she teaches that passage. She says it's the equivalent. We want to know what advancing confidently is. If you have a light in your home, a lamp in your home, and you want to plug it in so that you can illuminate your space, that's the energy of advancing confidently. You walk with the plug in your hand to the electric socket because you know there's electricity behind it. You know what it does, how it works, what it supplies, and you know that you will receive the thing. You're not worried. You're not wondering. You're not wishing. You're not praying. You're not burning sage or saying incantations. You're not hoping that you didn't sin too much. You're not doing any of that thing. You advance confidently because, again, you know what it is, what it does, and how it works. And you know it's going to work for you.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. You know it's going to work for you.
You're not saying, oh, well, I'm only 5 feet tall. I don't know if it's going to work for me. You're not saying, oh, I'm African-American. I'm Asian-American. I'm Latinx. That's not going to work for me. Oh, I'm a trans person. I don't know if this electricity is going to work for me. Mm-hmm. See, this is the real teaching, y'all. You know how it works, why it works, and you know it works for you. That's what advancing confidently in the direction of your dreams looks like. That's what Thoreau was talking about. So when he says here, all of this is required to keep yourself centered in the flow, keep in tune through positive thoughts, keep responsive by your faith, and keep moving in the direction of your dreams, advancing confidently, living in that space. And again, recognizing that this thing is no respecter of persons. This thing has no favorites. This thing that we call God, Mother, Father, God, loves us equally and individually. How can it not love itself?
That's important to know. We don't, as we say at CSC, we don't beg, barter, bargain, and beseech God. There's no, oh, please, God. It's God is pleased with its creation. And it doesn't matter if that creation is short or tall or young or old. It's pleased with its creation. Now we have to respond in kind. Mm-hmm. We have to act as if we know God is pleased. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So we move on. Let me remind you again that this book is a program for personal practice and discipline. Avoid the temptation to stop short with the reading. All too many students are overread and underdone. I'm going to stop there because this... As my pastor growing up used to say, underdone. It's tight, but it's right.
Exactly.
Avoid the temptation to stop short with the reading. See, particularly for us New Thought folks, our libraries are full. I've been talking about this since year one. We got every book. We got Beckwith. We got Williamson. We got Tolle. We got Byron Katie. We got Butterworth. We could go on and on. We got all these different books, right? We have Ernest Holmes. We have Fillmore. We have... we got Raymond Hollowell. We just studied, right? We got all of these texts. But all too many students are overread and underdone. let's move out of quoting it and let's move into practicing it.
Absolutely.
Let's move out of saying I own it, but
I am it.
actually owning it. Yeah, and just saying I am it. Right? All too many students are overread and underdone. Our goal is to help you develop a rich mentality that will be impervious to the fluctuations of the economy. More than this, we want to become collectively a positive influence towards stabilizing those fluctuations. And this is where we get into, this is beautiful because there's two things going on, right? We develop our individualized consciousness, and it's important because all of us are having varying experiences right now in terms of what's going on. And so the first thing, we got to get it for ourselves.
Absolutely.
But more than this, we want to become collectively a positive influence towards stabilizing those fluctuations. See, this is the other thing that's happening in life and that has happened in life, right? If you think about the scales, right? And human consciousness, some people are right now, it seems like more people are on the scale of fear and panic, right? And so that's where all the emphasis and influence is right now. But as we continue to move and shift our consciousness to the positive influence, to what we actually begin to do is stabilize those fluctuations, right? We begin to create a stabilizing factor. And in truth, I think that's part of what's going on. See, we can't get hung up so much in how it's unfolding, as we recognize that the things that are showing up now are cluing people into like why universal health care is affects the lack of universal health care affects everyone, and why that would have been a really cool thing to have right now. And so those of us that have been in that place of constantly influencing there's more than enough for everyone, and influencing and living in that space of equality and living in that imagination of a world that works for everyone, and living in that, knowing that it's real and knowing that it's true in our mind and expecting it to come into being. Again, how it's coming into being, it would be wonderful if it wasn't coming in this way into being, but unfortunately, this is the current path of least resistance based on the current consciousness of most people, right? That idea that, you can only have something good if something bad happens first, right? So we get to recognize that then what we're doing is we're actually even seeing the manifestation of that influence, those affirmations, that constant knowing, this constant vibration that we continue to send out week in and week out and week in and week out. Our goal is to develop a rich mentality that will be impervious to fluctuations in the economy. More than this, we want to become collectively a positive influence towards stabilizing those fluctuations, because that is the goal. Stable life, stable society, right? Stable systems, that no matter what happens, what goes on, because the unwanted things show up, right? We don't live in some fairy tale world that says that things don't show up.
Absolutely.
But if there are stabilizing influences and forces involved, then the things that show up don't take us out. And that's the opportunity that we have in our individual lives, but it's also the opportunity we have in our collective lives on this planet, right? And in each individual country. I'm just checking quickly just to see if we have any emails.
Any email questions?
Okay, nothing new. So what's your assignment? What's your assignment for this week? Okay, read and reread the preface and the introduction, right? That's all we dealt with today. And then read chapter 1, because that's what we're going to be looking at next week. Chapter 1 is rich. It's golden, right? It's golden, the truth about substance. And in addition to that, I think we'll send this out as an email as well. I think that'll be helpful. So
make sure you're on the mailing list.
Yeah, so make sure you're on the mailing list. And actually, let me change this view. So if you want to get on the mailing list, you see that number there. You can actually text welcome to 347-472-1078. If you text that, you'll get a link to our digital connection card, and that will put you directly on our mailing list. So what we're going to send to you all is the practice PDF, so that you can learn about developing your own daily spiritual practice. Just 15 minutes a day. That's all we're saying. It doesn't have to be 10 years, right? Or 10 hours, right? And additionally, we will send you another link. There's a wonderful website, Truth and Unity, right? And there's some beautiful resources there. And the most important resources that we want you to tap into, for each chapter, there are links to audio of Eric Butterworth elaborating more on ideas that are in that chapter. So these are directly from his sermons. He, of course, is a master teacher, and we're grateful for his light and life and the presence and legacy that he's left here for each and every one of us to glean from and to take it forward. So we're going to send you both of those links. So read the preface, the introduction, chapter 1, okay? If you feel the need to read some more, go back to the beginning and read it again.
Absolutely. As many times as I've read this book, every time I find something new.
Absolutely. Okay. The other thing is, again, you'll see the email. We'll send that out. And you can use those resources as well as you see fit. These recordings are here, right? So they'll be here on Facebook. They're here on YouTube. You can come back to this recording. You can come back to what we're sharing and what we're teaching. And finally, use these words and these affirmations. So the words we had for this week, we had wealthful, we had affluence, we had prosperity, we had wealth, right? And then we had that powerful affirmation: God is my constant and abundant source of supply, right? Put these things around, put them where you can see it, right? When you turn the TV off because you're sick of listening to the news, put those affirmations up on the TV and stare at that for a while, right? But use this information. This is how we're going to continue the study throughout the weeks. Again, we're just excited. We really believe in this principle. In a moment like this, I ask myself, what can I give? How can I serve? Mm-hmm. And so this is how we're serving, right? That it's time to dig into the teachings. It's time to share the teachings. And it's time to frame it in a way to understand what's going on right here and right now, so that we can apply these teachings easily and effortlessly.
And even if these are teachings that you're familiar with, refamiliarize yourself with them. Get more solid in them. Mm-hmm. Again, as I like to say, we can have all this spiritual knowledge, but it's just information until we apply it, until we experience it and internalize it and live from it. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing. We're shoring up our base in terms of our knowledge, yes, but we're practicing it as everything unfolds in our country and in our world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in this moment, it is time for giving, right? And so I encourage you, we will talk about this each and every week. It's a very easy one to give. You can just go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, and give what feels good, right? You can also text to give 347-744-9500. Now, as we're doing this study, we will talk more about giving and supply and why it's important that we stay open in that way. But I recognize that many people are having different experiences financially and economically right now. And we are not a space or place that would teach you to give to try to please God, or to, sow a seed and God's going to bless you. We don't teach that. But what we do understand is something that's very important, and it goes to everything that we've talked about today, is our thinking is important. And so what happens is when we give, no matter what amount we give, whether it's $1, $5, $10, or $1,000, we must be giving from the place that there is more than enough, that I recognize that wherever my current resource or resources are, my resources of income, right? Whatever those streams are resources, but there is an infinite supply, right? There's a source from which all these things come. I've worked here and I've worked there and I've always received. So the individual place of employment or the individual company or the individual business could not have ultimately been the source. There's something else. Absolutely. And that's what I put my mind on. Also recognizing that if we want to receive, a closed hand can't receive. And so when we give, our hands are open now to receive. This is why we sing the song, I am open to receive, I am open to receive of all of life's riches, right? So Find your joy number.
That's important.
Find that number that feels good, right? If you're feeling, a little icky, or you're feeling tight and you're scared, right? Please don't give the fear number, right? Don't give the guilt number of, well, I used to be able to do this, but now my income has changed, so I can't give what I gave, but I want to do that. Don't give that number. Give your joy number, right? CSC and PY and I, as the pastors, are forever grateful for all of the gifts and the donations as it continues to support CSC and being and doing what it is. And we're excited. We're going to be sharing some things in the coming weeks and months about things that we want to do, things that are part of our vision already for the year.
Before Corona.
Right, before Corona. Corona doesn't change that, but there are ways for us to financially impact this country and impact the planet in a beautiful ways. And so we're going to continue to do those things. And so your giving supports that and enables that. So find your joy number. Give what feels good. Text to give if it feels good to you. I love it because it's fast and easy. But you can go to the website. You can also set up a recurring donation. That's something that I did for myself. It's the first time that I actually did that this year, just to make sure I know it's automatic, it's flowing, and I get joy every Thursday morning when I see that my recurring donation has been given. Right, it's awesome. And so when we give from this place, when we give our joy number, when we give what feels good, what do we know to be true? All the money that I use returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. With that, we say have an amazing day. Have an amazing Sunday. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your time.
Happy Sunday, right? Everybody. We love you.
We love you. All right. And we'll see y'all soon. We'll see you on the prayer call on Wednesday morning. All right.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye for now.